If you've been living in survival mode, you know how exhausting this is. You're waking up anxious. You're always constantly waiting for the next bad thing to happen. And you're never really feeling safe in your own body. I know this because I have lived this too. As the daughter of an alcoholic, survival was my default mode for the majority of my life. But here's the thing, and the most important thing that I have learned is survival and this state you find yourself in is not who you are. It's a response that your body has learned to live in. I'm Corey. I'm a trauma-informed mind-body practitioner, and I work with adult children of alcoholics to help them come out of survival mode and finally find safety. And today I'm going to show you the first few steps so you can finally start living and not just surviving. And make sure you stick around to the end of this video because there's a free bonus workbook that's going to help you kickstart your journey so you can get started today. For years, I thought there was something wrong with me. I was reactive, irritable, and super snappy at my partner and my family around me. And I would always overthink, but overthink to the point of putting myself in a bad mood constantly. Super anxious and always just waiting or expecting bad things to happen. It wasn't until much later in life when I started my healing journey and started educating myself around childhood trauma and the impact of that on your body and what that does to our internal system. And it wasn't until I really got knowledgeable in this area that I started to understand that this was my nervous system and it was super dysregulated. And the reason why it was dysregulated was because it was shaped by my childhood, a childhood of growing up in an environment with an alcoholic parent. And if you've grown up in this environment, you know it is an absolute roller coaster of constant ups and downs. Stability is one of the hardest things for children of alcoholics to have in their lives. But once I learned how this actual unstable environment was impacting my mind and body, everything shifted for me. I started to realize that how I was acting, behaving, thinking wasn't actually truly who I was. Like there was a version of me before I got shaped into this dysregulated, overwhelmed person. So it was like there was two parts of me. The child before the dysregulation then shaped me into the teenager and the adult who was super overwhelmed, super imbalanced, who was constantly living in a state of hypervigilance. And this is why I'm sharing this with you today. This is why I base my work around this core aspect of having an alcoholic parent, because I want you to know that there's not something wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not a bad person for maybe behaving or acting or feeling or thinking the way you do on a regular basis. You are carrying patterns and learned behaviors and responses, survival responses from your childhood. But the beautiful thing is, and I'm living proof of this, they can all be unlearned because they are not who you truly deep down to your core are. Like there was a version of you before all of this shit shaped you into the person that you may not be super proud of today. So let's do a little bit of a very small educational piece on what is survival mode. I'm sure if you've watched a few of my videos now, you hear me talking about it all the time. But in the most simple terms, survival mode is your nervous system stuck in fight, flight, or freeze. And this response gets activated when we come up against danger or perceived danger. And for a lot of children of alcoholics, our alcoholic parent is the danger in our lives, whether that's physical, emotional, mental, whatever that shows up like. It's different for all of us because all of our journeys are so different. But we perceive our alcoholic parent as a threat to our safety and the safety of our other family members. So when we come up against this threat in our life, our body's natural survival mechanism, it's not something that we decide, it's our body's natural coping mechanism to dealing with danger kicks in. And this is your nervous system. This is your fight, flight, or freeze response. And this is what has actually helped you survive your childhood. This is what has helped you get through the crazy times that, which there is many when you have an alcoholic parent. This is the response that has allowed you to cope with all of the crap that comes with that environment. And It served a fantastic purpose as we grew up, as we were children, teenagers, whatever that looked like. But now when we move into adulthood, it actually prevents us from thriving. It actually prevents us from living the lives that we should be living, that we're capable of living, that we want to be living. Because your body's survival response, it's not that it just is turned on and you live your life as normal. There is impacts to that being constantly switched on. It impacts your mind, it impacts your body, it impacts your behaviors, your relationships, how you show up in work. It impacts everything, because when you're constantly in that state of high stress, whether you're constantly in that state of fight or flight, so feeling like you need to be reactive and fight, or you need to run away, or if you're in that state of freeze where you're shut down, where you're withdrawn, where you haven't been able to escape the threat, so the only option your body's had is to go into that shutdown mode. It's very hard to live a normal day-to-day life when you're constantly in these states, because you feel exhausted. You've got difficulty really relaxing, finding calm. You're people pleasing. You've got constant anxiety. You're overthinking everything. You feel stuck. So think about it as your survival response is like your body's alarm system being constantly on. It was useful because it kept you safe when things are chaotic. But now, as an adult, you don't need that safety alarm constantly being turned on. But the problem is, our bodies don't know how to turn this off when it's been living in that state for such a long period of time. Because if we're living normal, balanced lives and there's not a constant threat to our safety, or constant unpredictability, or constant chaos, or worry, or stress, if you're living in like a normal, balanced environment, your survival response will turn on and off itself. You naturally ebb and flow through these states throughout the day. So something stressful or perceived to be threatening might happen. So your nervous system will kick in, fight or flight will happen. But then your body will realize that it's actually not a threat, or the stressful time passes, and your parasympathetic, your nervous system, or your rest and digest state will come into play, and that will activate it. And that will bring you back to a state of balance. But unfortunately, when our fight or flight or freeze response is constantly on over a very long period of time, we actually need to help the body come out of that state, because that has now become your default state to live in. That has now become your body and your mind's normal. So unfortunately, without our guidance, without us showing our bodies and minds that it can relax, that it can find safety, it finds it very difficult to do that itself. And so many of us carry a lot of shame around this, because we think, why can't I just get it together? Like, why can't I just sort my problems out? Why can't I just get rid of my anxiety, my depressive symptoms? Why can't I be normal like everyone else? But the truth is, you can't be normal like everyone else, because maybe everyone else around you has not lived in the environment that you've lived in, has not grown up in the chaos that you've grown up in, does not have a nervous system that is constantly stuck in fight or flight. So you're feeling all this shame and these horrible feelings and emotions, comparing yourself to the people around you, when their experiences, their past, their life, their childhood trauma is different to yours. So it's so easy for us as children of alcoholics to get caught up in the comparison train of, why does my life be so difficult? Why can't I have a healthy, balanced relationship? Why can't I hold down a job? Why can't I execute the really amazing 10 brilliant business ideas that I have? Why can't I keep friends? Well, because you have an extra layer of complexity that maybe your peers don't have. But we carry a lot of shame because we don't understand that. So we start blaming ourselves. We start looking at ourselves through a lens of, I'm useless. I'm not worthy. I'm obviously just like an idiot if I just can't figure it out. But once we understand that there is a why, there is a deep why behind why we're behaving, acting, thinking, and feeling the way we do, that shame starts to disappear, because you start thinking, it makes a little bit of sense why I'm finding life a little bit harder than my peers around me. So, what are the things you can do to help you move forward finally with your life? To help you leave this survival response in the past And I'm going to give you a couple of tools that you can take away from this video and start implementing today into your life. Because the most important part with helping you come out of survival mode is, yes, taking action and implementing tools, but it has to be consistency. Because if you think you have been exercising that survival response muscle for whatever age you are, probably for the majority of your life. So for me, when I started doing this work, I started doing it when I was about 27. I've had an alcoholic parent my whole life since I've been born. And the environment has always been chaotic or toxic or scary. So that's 27 years for me at that time of exercising this survival response muscle and constantly being put into that fight or flight response. So, of course, it's going to take me a long time to find balance. It's going to take me a long time to find safety. So, that is why when I give you these tools, they seem super simple. And to be honest, they are. It's not super complex to help your body find safety. But the key, and where people go wrong and where people don't see change, is they're not consistent with what they're doing. And look, I get it. It's really hard to be consistent at the start, implementing something new into your life. Believe me, I have been there. But you just have to keep slowly chipping away. Start small. Make sure what you're implementing is sustainable for your life, because all of our lives look different. So what works for me is not going to work for you. So it's about taking what works for you from the steps that I'm giving you and making sure that fits into your life. But remember, if you're doing this once a month, if you do it for a week every day and then never again, it's not going to make a difference. So please take this one thing away, is that consistency is the most important part on this journey. What you do is important. Your consistency is more important. So the first thing I want you to do is really start noticing, when are you in survival? What does it feel like in your body and in your mind? So, are you doing something? Are you around a certain person? Is it when maybe you have an argument with your partner, you feel yourself going into that fight or flight mode straight away? Or maybe you go into freeze. So, this is going to take a little bit of reflection. But I want you to start to realize and understand when it's happening. Maybe you're constantly living in a certain baseline level of survival, but there's certain times when that gets more intense or that's heightened for you. So I want you to just reflect and understand, when does this happen? And when it happens, what does it feel like in your mind and in your body? So are you getting any sort of bodily sensations? Is your heart rate increasing? Are you getting sweaty palms? Does your chest get tight? Do you get a bit of an upset stomach? Does your mind go blank? Does your brain shut down? That's what happened to me all the time. My brain felt like it went offline every time I had a discussion with my partner, because it was a really triggering situation for me, because there was a lot of conflict growing up in my house. So, what are the experiences, the people, the situations that are causing you to go into a heightened state of fight, flight, or freeze? And what does it show up like in your body, in your mind, in your behaviors? So the next one is having a practice. And I like to take a two-pronged approach to this, because I think it's important that we can address fight or flight when it shows up in our lives. So as I said, if there's a certain situation or person who causes this to be heightened in you, it's important that we know how to manage that situation. But there's also important for you, as I said, to understand how you can implement this into a practice. So it's like a two avenues of managing this survival response: the in the moment, the here and the now, and the long-term practice that is actually going to help your body find safety over a longer period of time. So in the moment that you are getting triggered and put into fight, flight, or freeze, what's a tool that you can implement? For me, it was connecting back to the breath. I would find that if I got triggered or put into fight or flight, I would mainly go into fight mode and then into freeze mode, but I would stop breathing nearly. I would be nearly hyperventilating, breathing just from the chest. So if you're finding you're getting put into these states, can you anchor yourself with your breath? Can you take a pause, So if you are in an argument with your partner and you feel yourself getting dysregulated, can you take a pause? Can you stop what you're doing for a moment, pause, and just take a couple of long and slow deep breaths. Remember, with the breath, it's important you're keeping the exhale longer than the inhale because that slows down your heart rate. So inhale increases heart rate, exhale slows down. So if you're wanting to reduce the stress in your body, remember to keep the exhale longer. If you are maybe in work or you're in a different situation, you could place your hands on your chest. You could close your eyes. You could take a couple of deep breaths and say, I am safe. I am okay. My body is safe. My mind is safe. Or if you're feeling super overwhelmed and dysregulated in whatever experience you are having, take a break, walk away, take a pause, but get outside and go for a walk. Or go into another room and try just take a couple of deep breaths. Because creating that space from whatever your body and your mind is perceiving to be threatening in that moment is going to allow you to come back to a state of balance a lot more quicker than if you stay within that experience. So you've got your tools for whatever works for you in the moment, but what can you cultivate into a daily practice? What can you do each day that's going to allow your nervous system to feel balanced and regulated and your body to feel safe? So whether that's getting out in nature for a walk, doing breath work, stretching, mindful movement is the favorite of mine. So that is putting on some nice music, watching a stretching video on YouTube. Whatever it is, you're connecting the mind back to the body. Because when we become dysregulated, we get very disconnected from our mind and our body. So mindful movement is about reconnecting the mind back to the body, allowing yourself to go within, connecting the breath with the movement. I like to do it with just putting on nice music and letting my body move whatever way it needs to, closing my eyes, taking long and slow inhales and exhales. It might be stretching for you, it might be dancing, it might be yoga, it might be Tai Chi, whatever that looks like. Okay, again, it's just about being mindful and moving the body, allowing the body to feel safe in the moment. It could be finding some stillness in your day. Whether that's your morning coffee or your tea, you allow yourself to just drink that in stillness, finding present in the moment, not allowing yourself to constantly be distracted by things around you, allowing your body to find safety in stillness. There's so many things you can do. And honestly, helping your body to find safety is a very personal choice because it needs to be something you like. It needs to be something you enjoy. It needs to be something that works for you. We're all so individual and there's so many different things that you can do. It's about finding something that you really connect with and something that you feel like you could do on a daily basis. So as I said, coming out of survival, it does not happen overnight. But every time you bring awareness to when you're getting dysregulated, every time you allow your body to come back to a state of balance, every time you embrace a curious mindset over feeling ashamed about why you may be behaving or showing up the way you are rewiring your body for safety. You are moving from a state of constant survival to actually finally living. So, as I said at the start of this video, to help you take this work deeper, I've created a little bit of a worksheet for you to do. This is a free worksheet that you can download. I'll leave the link in the comments for you below. It's going to help you build your awareness around your survival response and create a little bit of a plan to help you move forward. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel to continue on this journey with me from healing from having an alcoholic parent.